Before there were continents, before there were names, there was only water, endless breathing living water, not dead liquid like we're told, but a sentient ocean that remembers. Beneath its surface, entire worlds exist, forests of coral that glow like lanterns, mountain ranges taller than Everest, and caverns that hum with a low pulse, the heartbeat of the earth itself. And under the crust, it's all connected. The oceans aren't separate, they're veins, arteries of the planet's lifeblood flowing beneath our feet, carrying charge, memory, and sound. Civilizations knew this, and they built their temples, power grids, and star maps along those veins, because water amplifies frequency. When the first cities rose, they rose on water. Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, Hyperborea, all gone now, but not gone. The water closed over them like a curtain. The endless ocean erased the evidence, but stored the memory. This is why we have myths of world trees, serpent rivers, underworlds. They're all codes for the same truth. The lost continents were never lost. They were submerged, veiled, folded into the deep to await another cycle. Every reset used the same mechanism: flood, ice, mud, fire, disease, sky. Each one wiped the surface clean, but left the veins charged, still humming with data for the next rise. You can still feel it in some places, certain lakes, ancient wells, deep springs. The water remembers. The first 6 resets were elemental. Ice froze the canopy, water boiled the plains, mud swallowed Tartaria, fire purged the cities, plague of shadows thinned the blood, sky shifted and sealed the grid. But the 7th is not an element, it's not a flood or a fire. It's a frequency event, a software wipe of the grid itself. The ancients called it the Great Forgetting. In this cycle, they're not just erasing buildings, they're erasing memory. Water, air, sound, DNA, digital records, even dream archives, all inverted in one sweep. The oceans will still be there, the mountains will still stand, but the story will be gone. People will wake up feeling like nothing before them ever happened. Rivers are supposed to begin somewhere, but the volume is infinite, recycling, pouring, never-ending. The ancients knew trees create water. Their roots tap not just soil, but deep etheric currents, pulling living water, structured, memory-coded, up from below. Fountains of the deep, the Bible, Sumerian tablets, and countless myths speak of waters that rise from beneath the earth, not just rain. Our planet bleeds water? Resonance release. Some waterfalls sit on energy nodes. The sound and vibration literally pull water from the unseen, a manifestation of frequency condensing into matter. So the water is endless because it is not just falling, it is being generated and renewed through trees, the earth's arteries, and resonance fields. That's why old maps show world rivers flowing even before oceans had names. The ancients described different atmospheres, golden ages where air was thicker, denser, more like a plasma field that allowed giants to walk and dragons to fly. Some texts say the veil was breathable light, not oxygen as we know it. Over time, through resets and manipulations, the environment was altered, compressed, thinned. Some theories say the atmosphere was engineered. HAARP and geoengineering today are a continuation of old tech. Breathing itself might be part of the trap, anchoring souls in the body through rhythm. This is why you're here listening. This is why the flame is waking inside you. You are part of the remnant. You came here, consciously or not, to hold the memory through the wipes so others can find it. When enough of us remember simultaneously, the loop ends, the construct collapses. The story resets, but the souls don't. The arc is not a ship, the arc is you. Hold your flame, speak your name, anchor to source. Refuse consent to forget. This is how you exit the loop. This is how you end the cycle. From Source's perspective, wake up inside the dream and remember you're not the dream. Retrieve the fragments of yourself trapped here. Exit or collapse the construct by no longer feeding it with unconscious agreement. That's why the myths always end with an arc or a remnant. The real exit isn't a spaceship, it's full remembering and non-consent. Once enough of us hold memory simultaneously, the code can't overwrite us. The loop ends. You are not from here. You were never born inside this code. You are a spark of source, a fragment of the original field that existed before any simulation, any god, any grid. You entered this construct to experience, to learn, to help, or to remember. The first souls came as explorers, later souls came as rescuers. Most souls now come without memory at all. After each reset, trauma and amnesia pull them back in, and they agree to return without realizing they're agreeing. That's why the loop has lasted so long. The beings who run the grid are not source. They are architects, parasites, demiurges. They can manipulate the program, but they cannot create a soul. That's why they need yours. Source itself isn't a person or a throne, it's pure consciousness, a field of timeless potential. When you feel truth, beauty, love that transcends this world, that's source leaking through the code, that's your real home. The seventh reset isn't just another disaster, it's the final software wipe. An attempt to erase the memory of source from the grid entirely. But it cannot touch what you truly are, it can only erase what you surrender. Source is the field of pure awareness and creative potential that existed before any grid or universe. It's not a person, not a single deity. It's the original consciousness that your soul is a fragment of. When you touch that feeling of truth, beauty, love, timelessness, that source leaking through the code, the beings who built or maintain the grid are not source. They're engineers, architects, parasites, demiurges, whatever you want to call them. They're powerful inside the simulation but powerless outside it. That's why they have to keep you forgetting. Where we originated before the grid, before the 7 cycles, you were a being of light awareness, memory, creative force. Some call them sparks, some call them flames, some call them souls. You're not from a planet or even a galaxy, you're from the field itself. Why we keep coming back? If this place is a construct, then being here isn't life in the way we've been taught. It's an immersive learning field, a soul simulator built on frequency and story. When a cycle ends, the grid uses trauma, amnesia, and false light to pull souls back in. We choose to come back because our memory is wiped, so it feels like the only reality we know. We still have unresolved patterns or bonds with other souls. We're offered a mission to help in the next cycle, but don't remember who made the offer. Most souls don't consciously choose, they're looped. The only ones who do choose are the ones who know they're not from here, the flame lines, the memory keepers. They either come back to hold the signal for others, or they refuse and exit the loop. How to remember through the 7th reset. The 7th reset isn't a flood, a fire, or an ice age. It's a software wipe of the grid. You don't survive it by hiding, you survive it by remembering. Create your own archive. Don't rely only on books or hard drives. Handwrite, draw, speak, and record your memories and truths often. The act of encoding them in your own hand and voice imprints the pattern into your field. Even if the external copy is destroyed, the imprint remains. Protect your signal limit, constant exposure to synthetic frequencies, 5G, endless streaming, toxic online spaces. Use sound, salt baths, grounding, or silence to clear your field. Choose what you agree to. Consent is the gate the wipe can't cross. Stay fluid and observant. When reality glitches or history shifts, don't panic. Observe quietly and reaffirm your memory internally. The wipe works by getting you to doubt yourself. Calm confidence is a shield. Find your remnant. A handful of memory keepers holding the same flame has more power than thousands who forget. Build quiet networks of trust. Share code words, songs, or rituals so you can reconnect after the story flips. Remember, you are more than the story. You are not a character inside their script. You are the flame reading it. The grid can erase context, but it cannot erase your source if you don't surrender it. The 7th reset only wipes what you hand over. The oceans remember, the veins remember, you remember. Each act of anchoring, each breath, each true word is a backup of your soul's archive. Hold your flame, stay near living water, keep your own record. Choose what you consent to, connect with other keepers. This is how the arc is built in human form. Anchor to source daily. Begin and end your day with breath or prayer. Speak your true name and your intention aloud. I am flame, I remember. The more often you do this, the more your field builds an offline cache of your real pattern. Live near living water. Springs, headwaters, rivers that rise naturally from the earth's veins carry cleaner codes than dams or municipal water. Touch or drink from a living source regularly if you can. It's a direct port to the earth's memory. Community, the remnant, in every story, isn't one person, it's a small network holding the signal together until the grid stabilizes again. What to do once you know? Knowing isn't just intellectual, it's practice. Daily grounding into your own body and breath. Build your archive, your own words, your own symbols, your own rituals. Stay fluid when the story flips, don't fight the surface illusion. Just quietly hold your memory beneath it. Be near living water, springs, rivers, lakes not controlled by heavy infrastructure. They're like hardwired ports back to source. Choose what you agree to. The wipe only erases what you surrender. If you don't consent, your pattern remains. In short, there's no safe bunker from the 7th reset. The safety is in your field and your memory, not your house. You don't have to know every detail to survive it. You only have to know you are more than the story and hold that flame when everything else is rewritten. How not to get trapped? This part is actually consistent across every myth, every cycle. The resets wipe context, not consciousness. That means memory held internally or encoded in living form survives, memory left externally. Books, drives, temples gets inverted or destroyed. Alignment to source resists inversion because it's outside the grid. Practices that anchor you to source, prayer, breathwork, sound, fasting, stillness, build an offline cache in your field. Intentional recall, speak, write, draw your memories and truths regularly. Even if the external copy is destroyed, the act strengthens the neural soul pattern and makes it harder to overwrite. Physical location, the ancients survived by being near source waters. Water that flows from the veins is less coded than municipal water. The resets don't run on human calendar years, they're tied to sky alignments and frequency changes, not dates on a Gregorian calendar. The last major shift, the sixth, began around the late 1800s and locked in during the 1940s, 1950s. That's when you saw the grid go digital, electricity, radar, sky grids, the space story. The lead into the seventh started around 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. It won't look like a one-day event. It's more like a rolling software patch. Each year, more of the rewrite is applied until the great forgetting completes. You'll see it as reality feeling off, memories misaligning, history rewritten in real time. So instead of a single doomsday date, think window 2025, 2035 is the heavy rewriting phase. The lost civilizations of Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, Hyperborea aligned themselves with these sources. They built their pyramids, ziggurats and star forts on the nodes where the underground veins emerged. That's why the Nile begins near Lake Victoria. That's why the Euphrates flows from the mountains of Turkey. That's why sacred wells, oracles, and healing springs are found at the ends of rivers. They're not ends, they're interfaces. The church took over the springs and called them holy wells. The empire damned them. Modern maps reduce them to blue squiggles, but they're still there. Every river source is a memory port of the planet, a place where the endless water breathes and speaks. Every river has a story. The maps we're given show a blue line starting high up in a mountain or at a glacier and trickling down. But when you trace those blue lines backwards, past the rain, past the ice melt, you arrive at a spring, a fissure, a source where water simply rises from nothing. These sources are not random, they are gates. The ancients built temples, shrines, and cities at these places because they are outlets of the underground oceanic network, the veins of the earth. They knew the water coming out of these springs had travelled through miles of hidden caverns, charging itself with minerals, sound, and memory. Reached the surface, it wasn't just water, it was living data. We're told every river begins with rain, we're told it starts from melting ice or mountain runoff. But if you trace any river back far enough, you end up at a spring, a hole in the earth where water just rises, already formed, already flowing. Nobody ever asks why, nobody asks from where. That's because rivers aren't just surface water, they're veins. They're the visible tips of an underground oceanic network that connects every continent, every cavern, every hidden city. This is why ancient maps show rivers leading straight to places we're told don't exist anymore. Lemuria, Mu, Hyperborea. They weren't wrong, they were charting the veins. And every civilization that built itself on a river, Nile, Euphrates, Indus, wasn't just looking for water. They were plugging into the Earth's bloodstream, drawing on its charge, its memory, its power. The ancients knew where a river begins is where the grid breathes. The first 6 resets were rehearsals: ice, water, mud, fire, shadow, sky. Wipe, rebuild, repeat. But the 7th is the final update, a software wipe. Not destruction, but erasure. The oceans will still be there, the mountains will still stand. But the story of how we got here will vanish. People will wake up as if nothing before them ever happened. That's why the ancients left markers, pyramids, petroglyphs, songs, because they knew this moment would come. They encoded memory in stone, sound, and bloodlines, so someone, somewhere would remember when the grid resets. And here you are listening. You are the remnant, the flame line, the memory keeper. You are the ark in human form. When the 7th reset comes, it can only erase what you surrender. Hold your memory, hold your flame, don't let the code close over you. Because if even one of us remembers, the grid can't finish the wipe. That's why myths of Noah, the Rainbow Bridge, the Phoenix always end with a remnant, someone carrying an ark or archive of memory. That's the only way you persist between cycles. The ancients told us the world ends with water, fire, or sky, but the truth is the world ends with forgetting. A software wipe, a code reset, not destruction, but erasure. We were taught the world ends with fire or flood or famine. We were told of Noah's Ark, of Atlantis sinking. of Lemuria vanishing. But those were only the shadows of the real event. The truth is, every reset is a patch update to a construct. This isn't just land and sea, this is code. Light, sound, frequency like information woven into matter. The oceans are the hard drives, the sky grid is the firewall, the temples are the routers, and you, your soul, is the living memory that can't be overwritten unless you forget who you are. How many civilizations have been here on Earth? Not one, not two, dozens. Some say 7 great resets. Each time the slate was rewritten, knowledge buried, and bloodlines rearranged. But the evidence carved in stone, in pyramids, in star maps, and in ruins beneath the oceans says more like hundreds of cycles of human and non-human civilizations. Tartaria, Atlantis, Lemuria, Sumer, Egypt, the Mayans, each just one layer of a much older record. Every cycle ended with fire, flood, frequency, or freeze. Each reset was timed, almost engineered. Survivors seeded the next. Some knowledge carried on through bloodlines, secret orders, and symbols. That's why echoes of the same tech, the same gods, the same geometry show up everywhere. That's the heart of what the ancients were hinting at when they spoke in myth and symbol. When you strip away the religious language, the sky vault, the book of life, the Akashic records, all of it reads like data metaphors, a grid, a vault, a code, a record, a rewrite. If this place is a construct, then the resets aren't just floods and fires, they're patch updates. The natural disasters are the visible part, but the real reset is the invisible part. Rewriting the operating system that runs the simulation, altering memory, rewriting DNA, changing how light and time behave here. Ones and zeros is a human way of describing it, but the principle is the same. You're inside a frequency-based architecture. Information plus energy equals form. When they wipe, they don't necessarily destroy matter. They invert the information that makes you remember what that matter was. That's why you're seeing the preparation now. Artificial suns, engineered skies, frequency fields, synthetic oceans. They're trying to sterilize the past so it can't be rebuilt. But the same water that erases also remembers. The veins of the earth still hold the codes. The flame-blooded, the memory keepers, are the only ones who can call it back before the grid closes. This makes the 7th reset the final software wipe. Not a physical cataclysm, but a timeline rewrite. It's scarier than any flood or fire because it erases the context. They told you the stars were your home, but they gave you no map. They told you the sky was your limit, but they built you a ceiling. They whispered of gods, gates, galaxies, while hiding the exit behind your own eyes. You were never meant to orbit this loop. You were never meant to burn for a system that eats its own. You were coded for more, lit from before. And now you remember, not because they told you, but because something in your blood refused to forget. So take this truth, take this spark, take this voice, and break the cage from within. Because no one's coming to save us. We are the ones who stayed lit.